Hello out there in Na'aleh land. We resume our course of honorable mention. Our course is Lilei Nishmas Rachalevas V'chaim Si Aleh Shalom. We want to thank everyone in the studio, including, of course, Sippy Klaver, who runs operations, not in the studio itself. And today we're treated with Rabbi Bomser helping us out in the studio. We resume. We're going to continue now with some of the practical advice of hospitality, and we'll segue today, Yirtzeh Hashem, into also visiting the sick. First, let me give you some practical advice, albeit it may be and rather obvious. I just want to remind everyone that's a good idea when you're a guest. Common sense. Help your guests clean away food. Be a helpful guest, because also, it not only is it helpful and beneficial to the hosts, but you makes yourself less of a burden on those people. Also, don't forget when the meal is over to leave. Some people just stay around and around and around. And at a time, the point comes when it's time to say goodbye. Furthermore, it's appropriate. I'm going to say the ineffable word now. It is appropriate if someone is hospitable to you to express your gratitude. Even more than just verbally, I believe the appropriate thing would be to write a thank you letter, a thank you note. I know I said that the worst thing in the world I could have said. I didn't even mean an email. I mean, actually write a letter and express your gratitude. And the more you write, and the more you articulate and express, shows that you are not oblivious to all the efforts they made on your behalf. And furthermore, if you express your gratitude for each and everything, it'll make you a happier person. As we said many a time, that gratitude is the most important component to happiness. So in each and everything that you're grateful for will make you a happier person and make it all that more worthwhile. People think that thank you letters begin and end with a bar mitzvah. Not that way. I'm probably one of the greatest guests, not the greatest, one of the most common guests in the world. I travel a lot, and people go out of their way for me, and I try and make it my business to articulate in writing my appreciation to them. Now, the Talmud says something about Mitzvah, Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph, Chav Dalet Amud Aleph, which is rather counterintuitive, and that is, if your host was very gracious and very hospitable, you should not tell too many people about this, because then you may open the floodgates of unwanted guests coming to them. You're trying to say, but people say, wow, these people are so hospitable, there's so much food, so much entertainment, and then unbidden guests may come to them more than they ever expected or anticipated. And let me give you an analogy what this is similar to. The story is that a young married couple had their first fight, and the boy felt very chagrined over this fight. He went to his mashgiach in yeshiva and said, what shall I do? Mashgiach said, what you should do is go out and buy a huge bouquet of flowers and present it to your wife. So the boy dutifully listens to his advice of his mashgiach. He comes home and he presents the bouquet of flowers to his wife, and he said, my mashgiach told me I should give this to you. Totally counterproductive. So therefore, if you're, that's what this is analogous to. Someone who's so gracious to you and you say, everyone go to these people, they're really the best hosts, that would be somewhat analogous. Now, we know that one may never depart from truthfulness. Midvar sheker tirchak, you're not allowed to say something which is false. There are a few exceptions to this. And listen to the way the Torah phrases it. The Torah never says you're not allowed to lie. It says you must avoid speaking false. Because sometimes something which appears to be false could actually be true. Now, I'm getting caught up in semantics now, but our source of truth is the Almighty. God's seal is truth. And God Himself, for Darchei Shalom, for Shalom Bayis, has altered what is seemingly the truth. The example which comes to mind, of course, is Sarah, who is 90 years old. When she was informed by the angel she would give birth, she said, how could I give birth when my husband is so old? Now, she wasn't exactly a spring chick, but she said, how can I give birth when her husband is 100? When God related this to Avram, He said, why did Sarah complain, saying, how could I give birth when I'm so old? But that's not what she said. She said, how can I give birth when he is so old? But God changed it because this could be a source of friction between Abraham and Sarah. So from here we learn God, who is truth, can only do truth. And the truthful thing to do to avoid argumentation in a family, it would be to change things. Now, this is not a carte blanche to just lie your head off, but to try and alter words that are not totally, we can call it a fib or a white lie, but not exactly within the rubric of strict honesty. However, there is license from the Talmud when it comes to hospitality, or when you're a guest. If you don't like a dish which is being served, you don't have to be truthful. The Gemara relates the story of an Amora, and here I quote from Rabbi Telushkin's book. This is Gemara Eruvin Nun Gimel, and the story is Rav Yeshua ben Chananya, who was given a dish which he didn't care for, and he said, I've already eaten. So he didn't eat, but he didn't want to partake of this dish. The story comes to mind, and this is, I'm dubious if this is actually pedagogic, because it's so many light years away from our range. But the Panovich Rav, when he was a newly married man, his wife served him a dish, which he didn't like at all. But he saw how hard his wife labored and how arduous it was to prepare this. He complimented her and he complimented her, and she thought he must really like it. So she made it for him all the time as a special treat, and he really disliked it. The Panovich's wife was butchered in the Holocaust. His children were murdered. The Panovich Rav, in a miraculous story which has been recorded here in Na'aleh.com, made it, b'derech shlo derech, he made it to Israel in the midst of World War II. Like I've said already, a very remarkable story. And then after the war, one of his sons managed to escape from the ash can of Poland and arrived in Israel. What a joyous reunion. The Panovich Rav and one of his children survived. And his son thought it was such a joyous occasion in honor of this